Look, it doesn't matter which shooter you play. There is one thing you're just gonna have to know how to do. Aim.
Det er fucking ubehageligt, man, at spille med. Jeg har sådan propper i ørerne, så jeg ikke hører en skid.
Det er lige meget, du skal bare skyde dem jo.
Whether you're looking to become the next device, trying to take Sentinels down a notch, or ushering in an era of utility-based trick-shotting. Oh! There's just no getting around the fact that no matter how much of a flashing, smoking, shot-calling, wall-opening support player you fancy yourself, at some point, you're gonna have to click ahead. And at some point, you're gonna have to hit that head.
Simple and Zeus combine to take down Kerrigan. They've got to recover, and Nico has done a tremendous job of doing so. Drop down, trying to find Zeus on the ladder. Oh, has he done that?
Oh, that's gonna rattle Nico. Oh, wow.
The question that haunts all of us every single day is, how do we most effectively improve our aim? It could be that you've spent 10,000 hours in Aim Botz, have become obsessed with smoking all 30 of these pricks in the range, or just wish that you'd stop getting pop flashed by f***ing Stewie 2K in Siege's so-called training grounds. Or maybe you've bought into the hype and tried out one of these increasingly popular, allegedly groundbreaking aim trainers. These days, it feels as if you can't be a true clouted aimer if you're not flexing your grid shot score on social media or putting it to the test in actual tournaments. Oh my god! Oh! What we want to know is what you want to know. Is the sudden explosivity of aim trainers all a result of marketing, or is there something actually scientific at play? In other words, are aim trainers better than your traditional age-old warm-up? And if so, how much better? Okay, so before we dive into this video, please take a second and like it, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications. You can even do a little aim game if you want, and just click between the three of them fast. Okay, so silly question, I know, but first things first, what is an aim trainer? An aim trainer is essentially any sort of custom, practice-oriented play stage created in or outside of the game engine in which you regularly compete. From flash games to workshop maps to first-party warm-up tools, an aim trainer is anything that was designed to, well, train aim. What's interesting is that for a very long time, such tools were actually not that easy to come by. You see, once upon a time, the only way for us boomers to refine the intricacies of our fragging, outside of in an actual match that is, or in a bot match, was to load into a custom map, find yourself a nice, clean-looking wall, pick 2 points to flick between, and, well, shoot at him a bunch. Of course, at some point, people got bored of staring at textures all day and started building shit to better improve their face-clicking abilities. From recoil maps to 1v1 arenas to the ever-infuriating deathmatch server, it was modders who made aim training into what it is today. The issue, of course, is that there wasn't sort of one central unifying aim instructor, but rather a bunch of disparate ones, depending on what you played and what you wanted to work on. In CSGO, for instance, there have always been tons of options, from Aim Botz to Recoil Master to an inexhaustible sea of reflex and/or reaction simulators. Unfortunately, the same couldn't be said for a title like Siege, where, to this day, training and warm-up begins and ends with T-Hunt.
Hello. Oh, that's very bad.
Then, of course, you had class/arena shooters like Quake, Team Fortress 2, and Overwatch, where, at least in terms of the latter two, custom content continues to reign supreme. Of course, there is one other aim development tool that players of all games indulge in from time to time, but it's cursed and annoying, and I can't believe they're gonna make me talk about it on my own goddamn show.
then I guess it's a pretty good thing that they keep me around. The other aim development tool that he's talking about, that really isn't an aim trainer at all, is Osu. Osu is a rhythm game that popped up in 2007. There are a few different modes, but for this video, we're just going to stick to Osu Standard, where you click circles, drag sliders, and spin circles to the beat of a song. Just looking at it, the similarities to an aim trainer are pretty obvious. All the beat maps are community made, and most of them are at least, let's say, anime adjacent. But for a kid who grew up on console shooters who had a background in music, Osu was a pivotal tool for me as I transitioned into using my mouse for PC shooters. And it's proven to be popular among plenty of pros and streamers as well. One notable example is Tens. If you're a Valorant playing Zoomer, odds are pretty good his stream was your introduction to Osu. Anyways, Osu has beatmap high score lists, which are a similar sort of bragging right as an AimLab score you can tweet out for a few dozen likes, but Osu is very much a competitive game in its own right, with a World Cup every year since 2011, and legendary players like CookieZ or Whitecat. There are plenty of options out there if you're looking to get a little more accurate with your mouse or just work on your hand-eye coordination. Just don't let crusty old boomers like Dimitri tell you Osu isn't a great route just because they're too cool for anything even tangentially related to anime. And Dimitri, just remember that the other editors and I can cut you out of your own goddamn show anytime that we want. So watch it.
Suffice it to say, with esports on the rise and Fortnite inspiring 13-year-olds to get into shooters like never before, people figured that there had to be a better, cleaner way to practice one's aim. One that didn't involve f***ing weird anime music. Thus, in 2018, we entered the era of the so-called actual all-encompassing aim trainer with the release of AimLab and Kovac 2.0. Now, these were full-featured, highly customizable clients that sought to simulate or recreate the conditions of nearly every shooter on the market.
AimLab is a free aim training solution on Steam, combining science with practice scenarios to help you improve your aiming ability, taking your game to the next level.
AimLab is the most popular way to nutify one's aim, of course, since it has the biggest marketing budget, which, hey, isn't a bad thing. But it didn't come first. From what I can gather, former Quake competitor Kovac began building his aim trainer back in 2016, after years of uploading arena-centric FPS tutorials on his YouTube channel. This dude was a true pioneer, one who paved the way for aim educators everywhere. What AimLab is, or at the very least claims to be, is the most scientifically grounded of said trainers. And what we want to know is whether that's true. Because suffice it to say, it didn't take long for AimLab scores to start becoming a benchmark of sorts, a go-to flex for any and all respected aimers to demonstrate just how check his game and PC that is not normally they really were.
I hit 130. That's my highest.
It also didn't take long for the rest of us to start imitating said maestros, to varying degrees of success. You see, what separated something like AimLab from the fray is that it offered personalized, tailor-made feedback. It assessed, and by extension addressed, the strengths and weaknesses surrounding your aim in particular.
If you've played a task in AimLab, you've probably seen the insights page screaming at you that you've got a left or a right side weakness. It's one of the most common messages that tons of AimLab players get.
I asked Sua about this, who you probably know as the analyst of G2's World Championship winning Rainbow Six Siege roster, since he now works as AimLab's Rainbow Six Siege product manager, and he explained to me what AimLab's sort of holistic goal is.
So AimLab was founded by Wayne McKay, who is a neuroscientist from New York, and he was a gamer all the time, like from heart, and he took a more scientific approach to aim training, or like training for games in general. And that's why AimLab is broken up into 6 categories. That's flicking, tracking, speed. That's like your main aim components. Then we have precision, perception, and cognition. So we also dive into learning on how to recognize when something moves on your screen, like when you hold an angle, like a small pixel moves. You can train this in AimLab.
Now, in theory, all of this is great. game-changing even. But does it really help in practice? Wouldn't it be better to just train in the game engine in which you'll be competing?
For me, I'm a person that, surely I'm growing up in the old way, and for me, we never had those tools, so it's a little bit different for me than maybe someone that's newer, that's used to having these tools that you can train on every day. So for me, I think that still the best practice to this day, and I think it's gonna take a long time till it be like, oh, this is the way to go with. It's probably deathmatch. It's because you get the similar reality that happens in a game.
And let me tell you, you do not have to go all the way back to 1.6 to find them. Blame F, for instance, is famous for having grinded out like 10,000 headshots per day in Aim Botz before going pro.
Is it true that you practice 10,000 headshots for 3 hours every day?
I don't do it anymore, but I definitely did it for like a period of 8 months without questioning. I streamed it most of the time as well.
Then you've got someone like Bolo, who T-hunted his way to Siege glory, becoming arguably the most mechanically talented player his game has ever seen, using what is unquestionably the worst warm-up tool in FPS. In fact, that was one of the things that Aim Labs sought to rectify. And boy, did they.
As someone that has a Rainbow Six background, it's kind of like a project that comes from heart. When you're like, Siege is a nice game, it's really fun to play, but it's really hard to practice Rainbow Six. So building stuff in Aim Lab, like it's so easy to build stuff in Aim Lab. I don't have to be a developer to build a task. Like I just need 15, 20 minutes to learn Creator Studio and I can build my own stuff. Like yesterday I died to a certain angle. I can build this angle in Aim Lab within 15, 20 minutes and practice on killing this guy next time.
So if you're a Siege player, Aim Lab could honestly be a godsend. There's no deathmatch, T-Hunt sucks, and who knows when Ubisoft is going to release that practice range we've been waiting 84 years to behold. Aim Lab knows this, and they're doing a killer job of capitalizing on it. The question, naturally, is how useful are aim trainers in other FPS titles where players have infinitely more tools at their disposal? Like, is your time best spent spider shotting all day? Or would you be better off deathmatching, doing retakes, or God forbid, learning smokes? I wanted to know, so I reached out to Dr. Madison Klarkowski, a professor at the University of Saskatchewan who not only specializes in computer-human interaction, but has been conducting research into the efficacy of what she termed atomizing skill sets in esports.
We're actually doing, like myself and my colleagues, we're actually looking into a similar topic. And what we were looking into was essentially breaking down skills into their components. So the terms we've been using is atomizing, like looking at the atoms of skills.
Now, in her opinion, aim trainers are actually fantastic tools for improving the mechanics of amateurs and experts alike. Why? Well, because in addition to atomizing the various aspects of one's aim, they offer a very sophisticated form of something very, very valuable: feedback.
Aim trainers do kind of break this down to a more granular level. They allow for a great amount of very detailed feedback. And knowledge of results is a type of feedback pertaining to how successful you are, and showing how successful you are, or showing a person how successfully they're able to achieve, I don't know, for example, accuracy, how accurate they were. This research shows that having this kind of feedback does improve learning and performance.
Now, from what Professor Klarkowski told me, this knowledge of results is super important because it not only allows us to compartmentalize our skills, but spot treat them.
I mean, aim trainers do give you this wonderful knowledge of results, and that you can look at a very, very granular level at, for example, your weaknesses, like maybe doing certain tasks helps you realize, you're great at tapping, you're great at tracking, but maybe your flicking is less than stellar. And it allows you to identify those weaknesses and kind of spot treat those areas.
Now, this is a deep topic, and I will not have time to delve into even a fraction of any of it. What I will emphasize is that, as with all forms of practice, aim training is only really beneficial to us if we engage in it meaningfully, reflectively, and, as the sports scientists refer to it, deliberately.
say in golf was an example we've been using. You analyze things like foot placement and your backstroke, and like all these minor components come in that make up the composite of the larger skill in play.
Suffice it to say, aim trainers are great at honing our play, but they can't teach us how to play. Because in a tactical shooter like CSGO, Valorant, or Siege, knowing which fights to take will almost always outweigh how cracked you are when you take them.
I think aim trainers are super helpful. Aim Labs is really nice for focusing on isolated aim mechanics, but you still need to focus on the game of your choice.
When you guys think about like how to aim better, you think of just like running around and just like flicking to people. That's not how to aim. In this game, in games like Counter-Strike, it's strategic based, like the maps, the layouts, and everything are the same. You have these fixed angles that you want to practice. You want to know the angles, you want to know where you should position yourself, you want to know where the enemy's going to be positioned. All that goes into factor into your aim before you even think about like raw adjusting your aim, where you come out and someone's where they're not supposed to be and then you flick to them.
And according to Professor Klarkowski, it is here where knowledge of results comes face to face with its opposite dichotomized counterpart, namely the intuitive or intellectual understanding of an esport, which she referred to as knowledge of performance.
Knowledge of results might be like you've achieved 87% headshot accuracy, but knowledge of performance might be something like your crosshair placement is whack, or, you know, there's no point crouch spamming at silver because no one's going to be aiming at your head anyway, so you may as well stand still. Otherwise they'll accidentally shoot you in the head. That knowledge of performance that you get from those comments, that's not something you're going to get from aim trainers, right? But maybe it will be in the future, but at the moment we're pretty limited to the metrics from your results. The knowledge of performance is something that you will get from a coach or a teammate or a human spectating your game and helping you. So that's where you actually do need to play the game to get that knowledge of performance.
Now, is it true that there are some aimers who are just so nutty that they can take pretty much any fight they want? Yeah, but they are few and far between. Not everyone's a Twists or a Tens, and while we should all strive to be that insane, we shouldn't expect to be.
Oh my god, that was dirty.
Of course, that's not to say that we won't all inevitably find ourselves in a situation where 1,000 hours of aim lab ends up coming in handy. Just the other day, I found myself wide-swinging tree room a little too hastily, and, well, this happened. Thanks, CSGO Hub. I don't know. I don't really use aim lab. Point is, these type of flicks, while certainly very stylish, aren't really something you want to rely on. Like, aside from the fact that they're not sustainable, aim just isn't as important as intellect. Look at Zywoo. Kid's got world-class aim, don't get me wrong, but what really stands out about him is his 2 billion IQ game sense. Who needs 6 swanky, wrist-shattering flicks when you've got wall hacks installed in your brainstem?
Je confirme. Mort buteur, mort transfert, mort pigeon. Mort BPB.
So, is it safe to say that specialized, scientifically oriented aim trainers, like Aim Lab, are worth investing your time and energy into? Most definitely. How much of your time and energy? As much as you can. Just try to make sure that you don't become better at the trainer than you are at the game for which you're training.
At a certain point, when the aim trainer becomes the priority, or when that's all that you're playing, or the ratio is out of whack and you're playing, 10 times as much aim trainers as you are the game itself, I would agree that you kind of become adapted to that, and that would kind of be where you improve the most as opposed to in the game itself. So it's all about taking those skills from Aim Lab and applying them. So you want to make sure that you do practice in the environment that you want to improve in as well, because there's so many aspects of the game itself that just can't be replicated in aim trainers.
As in all things, moderation is essential. Ensure that your training regime is well-rounded and you'll be fine. For all of you kings and queens out there who've already taken up aim trainers, keep at it. And for those of you like me who haven't really given them that much of a fair shake, why not try them out? Can't hurt to be more cracked.
Okay.
Oh my god.
Just because they're too cool for anything even tangentially related to anime. I ran out of breath.